Alrighty. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Office of Sustainability's first ENVS Alumni Meet event. My name is Chelsea Nguyen, and I'm an intern with the Office of Sustainability. And I'm currently a graduating senior at SJSU. So before we get started with our event today, I'd like to go over some of the house rules for our audience. This event will be recorded and shared on our YouTube channel, so feel free to turn off your camera if you do not wish to have your face recorded. And also, please stay on mute until the audience Q&A portion. Feel free to type your questions in for the speakers in the chat box below, and our moderator will read aloud the questions at the end. Please also make sure to address who the question is for. So for the first 30 minutes of today's event, we'll have the pre-prepared question portion, and then after that, we'll move on to the audience Q&A portion. Do y'all have any questions for us before we begin? All right, then. Without further ado, let's go ahead and meet our alumni. So for our speakers, please introduce your name, your pronouns, your graduation class, your job title or your company name, and also please briefly describe what you do in your current position. So any one of you can go ahead and get started.
I guess I can go first since I'm first listed there. But as you guys can see, my name is Morgan Webster. Pronouns I go by are she and her. I graduated in December of 2020, and my major was an environmental studies major, and then my minor was sustainable energy. So recently I just was hired at a company called Clean Harbors, and I'm going to be working for them as a field chemist. And kind of just to briefly describe what my key responsibilities there are is just kind of like ensuring health and safety by complying with all safe practices and policies and processes. So we have different work sites where we segregate and package and prepare for disposal of laboratory quantities of chemical waste from different companies in the Bay Area. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Thanks, Morgan. We're happy to have you here today.
Go ahead next, since I'm second there. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Briones, and I'm the Community Forestry Manager at Canopy. Canopy is an urban forestry nonprofit that serves the Mid-Peninsula, and I basically organize community tree planting events to that are funded by the state through a CAL FIRE grant. It's my job to work with residents in low-income communities that historically have been redlined and don't have a healthy canopy cover, which impacts public health and impacts their resiliencies to climate change. So it's my job to work in the growing environmental justice movement in East Palo Alto and North Fair Oaks communities to get more trees planted and steward to help the community fight, combat climate change. And I graduated Spring 2018 from the Environmental Studies Department with a degree in Habitat Restoration and Resource Management, and also a minor degree in Mexican American Studies from the MAS department. And I think that was it. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Maya. We're also happy to have you here today.
I'll go next. So I'm Andrew Melstein. Pronouns are he, him, class of 2017. I'm currently a project engineer over at Magnum Drywall. So I work in the Division 10, which is the specialties division of construction. I work with project architects, clients, owners, designers, and other subcontractors on construction projects. So I just maintain, critical documentation for like our software system. I oversee like the LEED portion, which is the Green Accreditation, Green Building Program. And I also help with like the estimating and financials, and I help procure materials. So, yep.
Thank you, Andrew. We're happy to have you here.
I'll go next. Well, I'm the last one, but my name is Elena Lee. I'm a senior project coordinator with the Energy Coalition. The Energy Coalition is a 501c nonprofit located in Southern California, but we really do like statewide programs. We implement a number of programs ranging from education and training, project management. We also do some policy planning and communications and marketing. So we have a lot going on. I have to wear a lot of different hats with my company, but I really enjoy it. And pronouns she or her. And I graduated, same as Maya, class of 18 with environmental studies.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Elena. So now we're going to go to move on to our first question today. So let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about your career journey and how and why you decided on your major. And then what are some other experiences or opportunities that you found most helpful in your undergrad experience that you would recommend for students to take advantage of? And any of you, feel free to begin.
I'm happy to go first. With my journey, I didn't start my undergrad journey with the intention of pursuing environmental studies, so that was quite different. I started with a sociology major, but I still had a lot of interest in learning about biology and earth sciences. So one of my introductory sociology class, we touched up on environmental justice issues. So that really struck a nerve in me, and it kind of opened the door for me to explore those types of topics in my future studies. And from there, I kept taking environmental studies classes, and I just, made the transition. I was very apprehensive at first because nobody in my family has really pursued this type of field before. But I was really communicative with my professors and kind of asking about like what their takes are, and they were all very encouraging. They told me that this was a really great field to go into. There's a lot of opportunities, and she even shared a lot of different kind of job websites tailored to green jobs and different newsletters I should subscribe to. So yeah, I would recommend all students to do that, to kind of do your own venturing and researching different organizations out there.
Thank you, Elena.
I can go next. So yeah, I think I've always had an interest in the natural environment, just how we're living in it, sustainability wise. This is going to sound pretty cliche, but I feel like the turning point for me was, I think back in 2006, I saw Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. And I thought that was a very resonating and captivating documentary. Kind of solidified my stance and future career in environmental studies. So I knew going into college, that's just the first thing or what I wanted to get into. Wasn't planning on getting into construction. It kind of just happened. Like my last year as an undergrad, I was working with Bruce Olszewski at the Center for Development of Recycling. And he's well known around the Bay Area in terms of construction, in particular construction waste management. So he was the one that actually referred me to an open position right out of school for construction debris box and construction waste recovery company. And I just continue with that track ever since. For those of you that know Bruce already or haven't met him yet, he's a wealth of knowledge and he's just really great to have a conversation with. So definitely do recommend that.
I think that working with your professor is really important.
Mm-hmm.
I can go next. So I have always known, kind of like Andrew, that I've wanted to be in the environmental studies world. I wanted to be the Latina Steve Irwin. When I was a child, I'm very passionate about wildlife conservation and plant ecology. And so it was a no-brainer. I'm one of the lucky few people who went into college knowing exactly what I can do. There's no question. So I went straight for environmental studies head on. But my path did start to change while in there in terms of what was I focusing on? Because I have, like I said, a strong passion in wildlife conservation and plant ecology, and that's what I got a concentration in, and that's what I still hope to do in my career. But I was exposed to, like Elena, the concept of environmental justice and how certain communities face a lot of inequalities and inequities when it comes to where they live, and comes down to the color of their skin or their ethnicity. And that really resonated with me because I had always noticed that there weren't a lot of Latinas or Latinos in the environmental field. And so that resonated with me. And I joined a project when I was in the Environmental Resource Center with a professor at the time. His name was Dr. Jason Douglas, that turned into a published research paper. It was environmental justice focused on green space access and its relationship to community health. And that really inspired me. One, I was like, well, okay, I got a paper published. That's incredible. I didn't think that would happen. And it just made me realize that these two loves of mine, wildlife conservation and ecology and environmental justice, do overlap, and it's not always obvious, but there is, you know, a connection to all of these things in the field of environmental studies. And so I really found connecting with professors, obviously that's already been said, but it really can't be said enough that connecting with professors, but also I would say if you can join a research lab in some capacity as an I mean, that really just opened doors for me. That really showed me what I can do, what I was capable of, what I can do as a career, and where I could go. And it made me, you know, ponder more and ask questions. Joining a research lab is a really great thing to do.
I love what you said about kind of just like finding the intersection between environmental justice and social justice. I think that's definitely like an important avenue to be exploring, especially, I mean, especially right now, but I just found it to be really important and really enthralling, especially the more that you get to learn at San Jose State. And you really realize how intertwined those two things really are. In terms of like what I do or am doing now, kind of just making sure like, so as a field chemist now I'm making sure that these pollutants are affecting like lower income communities and that these people are not disadvantaged as a result of these larger corporations who are taking advantage of the environment and the resources. And so I definitely agree with and second all of you guys and what you're saying about just finding kind of like your niche in this community, and then also just kind of looking for experiences or opportunities that help you like a research, like I know Maya was talking about kind of like a research background, or for me, I did an internship for grassroots ecology, which I know is kind of a big one for San Jose State students in particular, but I learned a lot there just about the community and also the environment. And like I said, the intersection of those two things. So I definitely encourage that as like, I guess my takeaway from my experience at San Jose State.
Great advices. Thank you all. So moving on to the next question, we want to delve into a little bit more about the job searching process. So what was the most challenging part about the job searching process for you? What was the process like? And what did you learn about yourself along the way?
Yeah, I can go first. I guess the most challenging part, I'm sure for everyone too, is just being able to handle rejections and being able to move on from that. You know, I didn't get the first job that I applied for, and that's okay. But, you know, it goes without saying just to make sure that you stay positive in your process. And, you know, sometimes you'll feel unvalidated in your skill set. So if you feel that way, continue educating yourself. What I did in kind of like my gap year, unintentional gap year, I completed certifications. You know, I studied for my lead exam, pursued other building principle certifications and things like that. There's also a really great one that's new. It's called Eco Districts, and it's about how building equitable, sustainable communities. That's out there. And I believe they have a deal going on right now so that it's free. So it's an up and coming certification that you should pursue. Something else that I've learned in helping out with the process is asking for feedback during interviews. You know, it helps you get a better understanding of like what jobs you should be going after. And also don't burn bridges with employers. You never know if you might cross paths again, because in fact, an employer that passed on me for their company actually referred me for my current position right now. So it's all about building connections, and just keep moving forward. Sometimes just different things come into play, whether it be timing or maybe somebody else is better for the job, but keep trying.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow what Elena just mentioned. So yeah, networking is key. You're gonna hear that phrase tossed around very frequently, in the latter part of college, even when you're out of college. I will say for me, the most challenging part of, applying to jobs and starting my career after school was it's very, very easy to get discouraged and overwhelmed. You see all the qualifications and, you tell yourself, there might be someone better for this position. So it's very easy to just ignore the position and not apply, but, just don't give up, just keep applying. If you don't meet every single qualification, that's okay. If you think you have enough knowledge or experience just to get yourself going, just go ahead and apply, because you never know what'll happen, because you might get a yes in the interview. So
Yeah, I'll just add on to that, try to encourage yourself to apply to as many things as you can. It is definitely overwhelming and it takes a lot of time to write a quality application. But the more you apply for, one, the more the likelihood that you'll get a call back. But also, even if it's stuff that's like, don't get caught up on the ideal job, especially right away. Like you come, once you graduate, you might think, oh, I know exactly what I want to do, and some of this stuff doesn't check all the boxes. Well, it's still, I think, really important to still apply to those jobs, because you can interview the company about some of these questions that you have. You can practice interviewing skills, which is so important, and just increase your your ability to convince people of your skills. And don't, everyone has reasons for having gap years, and that's fine. But like Elena said, if you can fill it doing something, volunteering, interning, getting certifications, anything like that, that'll really help your case, I think, later on, as you do continue to apply, or when you take a break and then return to the application process. Having those things on your resume and LinkedIn actually really helps.
Yeah, I remember experiencing, I think it's called imposter syndrome, where it's like you feel like you're not qualified to actually be applying for the jobs that I was looking at. So I started applying everywhere. But one thing that did help me is I would make a Google Doc and I would write the company that I applied for and then like a few bullet points on what the company does. Because you start applying to so many, you start to lose track for everywhere that you did apply for. And so kind of just keeping like that little like research document for me to kind of refer to, so that way if someone emailed me back or someone called me back, then I would have that to kind of just like keep a mental note on what kinds of questions they might be asking, or if I do check off all the boxes, or if I'm qualified for this position or not. Because I did get turned down a lot too, so it is kind of, you get discouraged. But I mean, I think one takeaway that I'm hearing here is that like you just got to keep like being positive, because eventually you will get the job. So.
And I'll just add to Morgan, I totally did the same thing. I made myself like a tracker of all of the jobs that I went after, like what was the outcome. I'm happy to share that template to you all. I found it to be very helpful because, yeah, I was applying to so many.
And one final thing on that is, when you do get rejections, it's always nice to follow up and say, thank you so much for the interview. Like Elena said, don't burn bridges, but also ask, do you have any feedback? Because maybe there's reasons. Maybe there's something you can improve on. Maybe someone else just had more qualifications, but there's always room for growth. It's always being open to that feedback is going to really help you grow as an applicant.
Excellent tips. So with that being said, the next question that we have for you all is, what top tip would you recommend for students or recent alumni who are still working on their resumes to stand out in their applications? Or what are some other things that you found that makes you stood out as an applicant when you were applying?
I would say put like your most notable achievements in clear view or at the top. Your internships, your environmental studies, maybe you have a certain concentration. Yeah, just again, most notable achievements. Do not lie on your resume. I have heard of some people who do that, and it doesn't like turn out well. Like they are going to find out about it. So just be as truthful and forthcoming as you can about it. You can go ahead and just you obviously want to like talk about yourself and make yourself shine, but do that with reason.
For me, this kind of goes back to, again, like I would go to the company and I would look at like the position, like description that they were, or the description for the position I was looking at. And I would take keywords of things that I have learned specifically from that position. So say if it had to do with like environmental law and policy, then I would try and remember some things that I learned from my environmental law and policy classes. And then I would kind of do like a brief kind of, maybe like I would, in my resume, I would put a project that I did for that class or something that kind of highlighted that I actually like did learn about this, and maybe that might make me more like suited to the position or whatever it may be. And it just depends on what company you're looking at, but just research the company and look at what they're looking for the position, and then kind of tailor my resume to that.
Yeah, Morgan, I did the exact same thing. I made sure to look at, the company's values and make sure that they matched with mine. And, I think writing stellar cover letters are really important in letting your personality and your professional style shine through. I know with resumes, it can look kind of flat, I did this, and this, but, try to quantify your results, whether being like, I presented this many times, or these are all the research projects that I've done, and this was the outcome. That's what I did in my resumes, even though it wasn't like technically professional experiences. I highlighted all of the research I've done during my undergrad.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much more to add to that. I did exactly as Morgan and Elena said. So I can't stress that enough, especially, in cover letters and resumes using the same terminology that they used in the description, because sometimes they have automatic scanners checking these things for like percentage of matching keywords. Sometimes they have humans doing that, but they're really just scanning. And a lot of times, depending on the company you're applying for, they have a lot of different steps that both those documents go through. And so trying to make yourself seem, one, extremely relevant, and then two, extremely, unique. It's a challenge, but that's I think a really big part of it is trying to match your documents with the job description. And then I would say probably formatting is really key, especially the resume. Making it look professional, not jumbled. And this looks different for different things, but, making sure to look at different templates on Google, whether it's bulleted lists or numbered lists or whatever, making sure you have a tailored resume for the job in terms of length and overall style, just to make sure it's really presentable, I think is key.
And Elena added in the chat that grammar is so important, so make sure you all take a look at that as well. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next question. Talk a little bit more about your current job. What is the most interesting project that you've worked on and why? Or you can also talk about what do you wish you knew before starting your job?
So I can start this one. I'll talk about an interesting project that I've been working on. So urban forestry is a whole separate beast than other forestry professions because there are a lot of barriers to planting trees and creating equitable green space. There's utilities above and below, there's concrete, there's cars that can bang into trees, there's watering needs when we have drought. Especially in low-income communities, we have parcels that aren't very big and they're mostly concrete. And so there's just a lot of stuff that we have to consider when we're looking to plant trees and increase canopy cover. And so I partner with Stanford University, their Stanford Future Bay Initiative lab, research lab, and they came to me wondering how can we alleviate some of these barriers. And so we decided to create a mapping tool together where we analyzed the community of North Fair Oaks, which is an unincorporated community in Redwood City, so it's county property. We analyzed every parcel in North Fair Oaks, so it was parcel level analysis, and it gave us an overall score, and we inputted a couple different data points, such as like pedestrian traffic. So how much of these these streets being walked, available green space, heat, thermal heat imaging, social vulnerability index, things like that. And we basically gave an overall score for need. And that has been a really huge project for us because there are a lot of mapping tools out there, but they're not that specific. They're really general, Cal Envirus Screen, Air Resources Board, blanket communities as DAC, disadvantaged community. But looking at a parcel level, we can really see where Canopy's efforts should be targeted, where we should be targeting in terms of advocacy work, outreach work, tree planting work. Like where should we be focusing our programs? And this mapping tool has become so it's only 6 months old, but already the city of San Jose has adopted it. And there's another city in the Mid-Peninsula, one in the East Bay, and actually this CAL FIRE is looking at potentially adopting it as well. And so to me, that's huge. What started out as just like this idea of, we're in COVID, things are extra hard. How do we continue to like serve the community and help them and get to people who have the highest need? Turned into a project that became, there's somewhere in New York is going to adopt it as well. So like this is now becoming a nationwide tool, and that's so exciting. And so this partnership with Stanford has really changed, potentially changed the way urban forestry is going to operate locally for sure, but statewide and potentially nationally. And so it's been a really exciting project that I never thought I would ever be involved in, but it's just one of those things, you fall into certain jobs and you find partners and things happen.
Oh, that's really cool, Maya. But yeah, I'll go next. Something really interesting that I've been working on is my company. We have an internal working group called the Community Equity Working Group. And we really just come together and, kind of evaluate how we can change and modify our programs to make sure that we're not leaving any, underserved communities out of our services. So something, we discussed how we can redefine disadvantaged communities, because I know what we use right now is Cal Envirus Screen, and that doesn't really take into consideration rural communities in like Central California. So those are the types of things that we talk about. And there's another thing that I'm working on revolving Assembly Bill 841, and this is the school's energy efficiency stimulus program, which Gavin Newsom signed later last year, so that schools can get prepared and reopening and being able to acquire energy efficient HVAC systems and plumbing systems. So, to curb, risks of COVID. So that's been really interesting because it's always changing the guidelines, and the rollout is so important. We're trying to, make it very rapid rollout pretty much. So kind of our service areas there is providing that project management support and getting the word out about the grant opportunity for schools. And we have a special prioritization for underserved school sites. Yeah.
That's awesome, Elena. I'll go next. So construction, especially in California, it's a very uniquely intensive field. Before starting my career in this, I wish I knew a little bit more about California building codes, LEED scorecards and certifications. LEED is, again, is a nationwide green accreditation for construction projects. Also reading blueprint plans. But yeah, I work in Division 10, which is a very specific part of construction. It's a lot of sanitary products that we install. I work with contractors that hire us, and I help them with like the LEED scorecards and like the LEED qualifications for the job, not only for our products, but sometimes for other products that are installed on site. I talk about, their construction waste like recovery rates, things like that, just to make sure that we're meeting all like the standards that California like puts into place. Since we're here in the Bay Area, a lot of tech companies like Google, they have their own green standard, which is probably the most intensive standard that I've ever worked on. Yeah, it's a fun process. It can be a little intense, like I mentioned, but it is very educational, and I do enjoy it. So.
Well, that you guys all do some really cool things. So I just started with my company, but I can't say that I have done too many new or different projects, particularly because I just graduated in December of 2020, so just a few months ago. But I would have to say that rather than maybe a cool project, I feel like my biggest takeaway is more or less the impact that I have in my community, and kind of just seeing what positive impact I have so far. And I think that that's kind of worthwhile for me, but I'm kind of excited to see what other projects I get handed later on down the road. But I think that you guys are all doing some really cool things, and I gotta say, I really respect you guys for doing that too.
Thank you, Morgan.
Alrighty, now we have the last question for this portion. Do you have any advice for students in the audience who might be interested in pursuing a career or a degree in the environment and sustainability, or advice for students who still don't know what to do after graduation?
Don't worry, it'll be okay. If you're scared or nervous or you don't know what to do after graduation, and if that freaks you out, then take that as a good thing. That means that you care. You obviously want something good for yourself and your career field. Like we've all been mentioning, just keep applying, keep putting your name out there. I tell this to everybody that are like actively applying to jobs, one yes beats out 1,000 no's.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate the importance of kind of staying up to date on the industry. It's ever changing, it's multidisciplinary, there's a lot of information out there, but that's easily accessible, that information to you. So subscribe to newsletters, attend, webinars and panels like this to get more information. I found great value in, signing up for a mentor. I'm a part of the Association of Women, Water, Energy, and the Environment. And, it's an association of women in our field. And, my mentor from there has been really helpful and kind of guiding me and being a sounding board. So I really recommend, just making connections.
Yeah, I'll just say that making connection is key. Absolutely. I think that, Andrew's point rings 100% true as well. Something I did was informational interviews. If you're really not sure what you want to do, or if you see someone who's like has a cool job and you're like, man, how'd they get there? Ping them and see if you can set up an informational interview and just pick their brain about how they got there, what they had to do. That might inspire you to take new routes and try new things. And that would be my other tip, is to be open to trying new things. I was scared that I feel like, man, I process things really slow, and it takes me a long time to learn things. Like, can I try something that I don't know how to do? Like urban forestry. Like, yeah, I know about plants, but there's a whole bunch of other things to consider. And you are teachable 100%. You can learn new things, and just remember that. I think that's really key, that even if you feel like you're not 100% set up for a job, still apply. And if you get it and you're like, man, what if I don't know how to do this? You'll figure it out, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I feel like all of that advice, like you guys said, it rings true. I guess just to snowball off of the points that you guys are making, I would just say, even if you feel like you're not qualified for the position, apply for it anyways. I was very intimidated by the position that I'm working for now, but I think it's because it has the word chemistry in it. But they're really just looking for someone who just has a natural sciences background, which is basically what we're all studying for. And I feel like you guys and a lot of us are pretty much already equipped for the position. It just sounds intimidating. So I would just apply to any position, even if you guys feel like you're underqualified. I'm sure, I mean, worst case scenario, they say no, but you still gain interview experience and you walk away a little bit, I don't know, you just walk away with a better outtake on it. So I think that just, I guess, like I said, just to snowball off of what everyone else is saying, just don't be discouraged and just keep on applying to anywhere and everywhere.
Great. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our audience Q&A portion, which Becca will be facilitating. So for all of our audience, feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, or if you feel comfortable to, you can also unmute yourself and ask the question. I guess while we're waiting for the audience to type in the questions in the chat box, we can do a couple questions for our lightning round. This will be like a series of random questions with random topics, and you all have 10 seconds or less to respond. So the first question is, what is your favorite emoji?
Mine's probably the one with the like kind of sad eyes, but it's like a very kawaii thing. If you guys know what kawaii is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's my favorite one.
I like the laugh crying emoji because that's how I feel most days.
I agree with you.
I feel like my most used is probably just the smiley face one.
I love
But
that.
I don't know if that constitutes as my favorite one or not.
I think I like the alien emoji because I'm out of this world.
Nice.
Love it. All right, we got some questions in the chat box and Becca will be reading it out.
So we had a question that asks, what certifications are recommended for those that will graduate in the spring?
Yeah, so I mentioned eco districts. I'll drop in a link in the chat box. And then I also completed my LEED Green Associates and working to do my LEED AP in existing buildings or operations and maintenance.
It really depends. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, I think the certifications depend on like what exactly you're trying to get into, like once you graduate. But yeah, like what Elena did and what I did, we got our LEED Green Associates after school. I know most of these certifications you do have to pay for, but again, these are very long serving type of certifications. So it's definitely worth the investment.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It depends what you want to go into. Like for ecologists, biologists, I got the California Certified Naturalist certification. That's a good one. That's a lot of fun, but it really depends what you want to do. Oh, and there was another one. I can't remember it, but I'll put it in the chat when I remember.
Perfect, thank you. And there was one right before that I missed. It's, how did you find openings for research labs at SJSU?
So I'm guessing that's towards me. So I didn't really like search for it. It kind of just happened. The professor was teaching my class, and if y'all know the Environmental Resource Center, at least when I was there, it was project based. And so the goal of the class was to lead sustainability campaigns successfully on and off campus. And so there's a variety of topics. And so basically we took our ERC project and the professor made us the research lab. So I would say ask the chair of your departments, like which professors are doing research. Do they think they'd like an assistant or any help? Can I join the lab? Because sometimes even master's labs might have you be okay with you sitting in. So asking the chairs of your departments is probably a good way to start.
Yeah, I was a part of the department's listserv email group, and I found a research opportunity there as well.
All right, thank you. And our next one would be, is there a skill that was useful to know for your current job? For example, knowing how to use Excel.
Oh, Excel, you're never gonna escape that in the working world. Like, I'm sure we've all used it pretty frequently in college, and you're definitely gonna use it just as much when you get out. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. I can go. Sorry, I saw we both muted at the same time. But kind of just like interpersonal people skills, coming off as authentic is really what's going to connect you with people. And also public speaking has been a thing that has been forced on me to learn. So if you can practice that now, get ahead of it while you can.
Yeah, 100% agree on both those. I use Excel, I do public speaking all the time, and I work in teams, so I have to communicate. I think communication in general is going to be key, not only in the interview process, but in the job. You're going to need to be able to communicate with your team, with partners, with management. And overall organization is so important. Like you can definitely pick up Excel skills and other skills, but if you're not organized, then you're going to lose your data. You're going to input things wrong. So being organized, especially when you're using data, like I have to put together state reports and city reports and run Excel sheets and stuff, need to be very organized.
And the next one's a fun one. It's, where do you see yourself going or doing within the next 5 years?
That's a hard one. I can barely think ahead 1 year from now, let alone a month. But I hope to kind of continue work in kind of the public policy sphere, in kind of, still working with municipalities and doing more work with community outreach.
I actually want to go back to grad school at some point. I'm aiming for the next 5 years. I want to get into urban planning, transportation planning. I've always been fascinated with that field, and I think construction's like a good segue into that. But yeah, that's my tentative plan for the next 5 years.
Andrew, I'll ask kind of where you looking at schools for?
Like the location?
Or which schools you're looking at?
Somewhere in the Northeast, so in the New York tri-state area. I love New York. I've always wanted to live there. But I wouldn't mind staying here in California. But just either coast. So
nice. Yeah, same. I've been thinking about grad school too for quite some time.
Lots to think about.
Yeah, a big commitment.
Yeah.
I would love to, one class that I took right before graduating was with Ada. I love learning about like SQL actually. I don't know, I just feel like I'm pretty detail oriented. So I think learning about those things, like it kind of was right up my alley. And I would love to, like you guys are saying, also maybe go back and get my master's degree and maybe get something kind of in that whole realm of studies.
Yeah, just to top on, I actually am applying for my master's right now, and I hope to, my original plan was to get a PhD, but we'll see at the end of my master's if I want to go back to working or go back to school. Hopefully one day I'll get my PhD, and I hope that probably not in 5 years, but someday I will be the first Latina Steve Irwin. So.
That was great. Thank you, guys. And our next question would be, oh. I'm so sorry, my doorbell rang. Chelsea, could you read the next question just while I handle that? Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I believe the next question is, do you recommend ENVS courses as electives when possible? And is ENVS or environmental studies a great minor no matter the discipline?
Oh yeah, I think ENVS in any like field of study, like it's very good knowledge to have, because it's literally like our natural environment, and everything that we do, our economy, our lives like operate inside of it. So having at least some working knowledge of, our impressions on it, like how we can amend like, our lives to be more sustainable. I think it's always great knowledge to have.
I agree, 100%.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to know, is there any local legislation bill or something you can bring awareness to that's a threat to your environment? Either it could be from like Northern California or Southern California.
That's a really good question. I know that there's a lot that I was studying within the past few semesters, but I'm not sure. Like, do you mean like one that you could go to like right now they're having the online meetings or like the city council meetings that you can attend and like talk about what bill or not is going to be passed?
That's correct. Something along those lines, or something like something severe as like the oil pipeline, and I believe in South Dakota that they wanted to build. So I just wanted to ask if there's any awareness you guys can let us know about, enlighten me about.
I can't quite remember right this moment, but there are more pipelines other than the South Dakota. One of them I just read actually this morning or yesterday that it was not passed, so it won't be built. So that's great. But there's quite a few pipelines running through indigenous lands. I think the development or drilling into wildland spaces, the border wall was a huge ecological disaster. The Arctic drilling's huge. Sorry, I don't have many specific answers, but certainly are infringements on indigenous reservations at this point.
Oh, go ahead, Elena.
I was just gonna say, I don't have any specific legislative like policies I can update you on, but I can let you know that there are conversations being done and kind of awareness being done with, the public utilities and their roles in like public, the power shutoffs during wildfires. So that's a big topic to this day, and how utilities are handling their power lines, maintaining them, as fire seasons are continuing to rage on and seem to be getting worse every year. So that's something, if you're interested in energy, that's a big topic of today.
I just also want to add on to that a little bit more. The Silicon Valley Youth Climate Actions, they also have like a team focused on California state level policies. If that's something that you're interested, you can certainly check out their website on ways to get more involved in and learn more information about that. Okay, so moving on to the next question that we have. What are some insider tips that you have learned while in undergrad that you think that help you in an unexpected way after you graduated?
I would say working in group projects, this isn't always the easiest. You know, I've had some group projects that I have not enjoyed at all. So, but I've kind of taken what I learned from that in what I carry with my job right now. I do a lot of collaborative work with my team. And as long as you can maintain that working style where you guys can deliver results, you know, that's what's important. You know, you're going to be stuck in a group project in some way or another. So learning how to navigate through, you know, the different challenges that come through that is really helpful.
Yeah, collaboration is very important. I think like my career, and I think many careers they're not independent work really. It's just one continuous group project after another. I hope that doesn't sound too daunting for people who actually hate group projects, but you know, like you are going to be working in that type of environment for quite some time. So, you know, communication skills, interpersonal skills, you know, those are very important to improve and, you know, work on.
Sorry, I was just catching up to where we were or what I missed. Next question would be, 1 second. Oh, it would be, what software programs are used at your jobs?
At my job, we use a lot of CRM like Salesforce. We use it, the Google Suite, and we also utilize GIS software systems.
Same at my jobs.
In construction, we use this program called Procore. It's our tracking system for all of our it's our digital documentation trail. We also use LEED and USGBC, their scorecards and their different standards that we have to meet. They have different volumes or revisions that we have to go off of for any green accreditation project.
My work is more like field work and like lab work, so we don't use as much of like GIS and like Excel and things, but more just kind of like systems that help you like identify toxins or like, I don't know, kind of also background knowledge of just like identifying what substance is what kind of thing.
Thank you. And moving on to our last question would be, what are your bosses like?
I can talk about my boss. I really like him. He's very helpful, and I feel like we have a relationship where we can where I can be honest with him if I'm at capacity. So I find that to be very helpful because I tend to kind of work really hard. I burn myself out sometimes. So you know, having a relationship with your supervisor where you can be honest with them is very important, and also one that cares about your professional development is important as well. So outside of like the projects that I work on, he's kind of helped me, you know, gain my confidence in other areas. So like the interpersonal skills or, you know, public speaking, soft skills, things like that.
I'll share a little bit about my boss, Catherine Martineau. She is really incredible, quite a pioneer for women in this field as an executive director, and she's led Canopy almost through its entire 25 years. And like Elena said, it's really important to have a supervisor who cares about your professional growth and supports you and you feel like you can come to and be honest. But also what's great about Catherine is that she cares about me as a person, very much so. I feel that I can come to her about things outside of work, and, to let her know, update her health or whatever. She truly cares about how I'm feeling as a person at Canopy. How's my work impacting me, and, where do I want to go in my future? So she's always been a great advocate for me, which I don't know if that's rare or not, but it's been a really wonderful experience to work with Catherine on that level. Certainly nonprofits, I think, allow for maybe more closeness. I also worked at the county for time, and it wasn't exactly the same. So I think it depends where you go, but I've always had really great experiences working in nonprofits.
I'm still getting to know my bosses, but so far I really like them, and they're also very supportive. So I can only hope that that continues to, or we continue to have a healthy relationship with each other. But like I said, I am still getting to know them.
And my boss is a big ball of sunshine most days. But he's a funny guy. He's been working in construction for almost 30 years now. We have a very casual, like laid back environment, so I can, be open with him about like anything. If I'm overworked, not having enough work, things like that. It's good that I've like, made it to this point of just like a working environment where I can feel completely comfortable talking to my boss.
Thank you all. That's great to hear that you're able to make these connections. And we have one more question. It's, has anyone looked into military fields that may benefit from your knowledge? Anything interesting in that area?
I personally don't have any background knowledge on the military fields, but I'm sure that if you did some research on it, you could find some things that maybe it'd be helpful to have some environmental knowledge or background knowledge on.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much into this either when it comes to, the military, but I would think that kind of environmental health and safety is a big focus with the military, and also, energy. So that's where I would think the knowledge would support most.
Alrighty, I also want to be mindful of time. It's 6 o'clock right now. I would just want to thank you, Becca, for facilitating the audience Q&A portion, and thank you to all of you for sending in the question. So before we end the event real quick, I want to ask to all of our speakers if you'd be okay with me sharing your LinkedIn in the chat box for all of our attendees today.
Go for it.
Okay, awesome. So once again, thank you so much to all of our alumni for taking the time to speak with us today. And thank you to all of you for attending today's event. We hope that this event was able to help you have a better feel for the ground beneath you and feel more ready to take on the world in your future career. Make sure you follow us on social media at SJSU Green Campus to stay updated on our upcoming events. We have a Green Career panel coming up next month, along with other great events coming up in our Earth Month next month. So have a great evening. Thank you all.
Thank you again.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chelsea and
Thank you for
Rebecca.
having us.